Hi, good evening. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, what's the subject tonight? It's late, 9 o'clock. That means I'm going to start meandering, but at least I haven't got my glasses on, so you know I'm not reading. Well, one of the things that seems to have the interest of people is what it means to be a musician, a professional musician. And a professional musician has a very different kind of life to what I call normal people. Frank Sinatra once said, "Oh, musicians, oh, they're better than Earth people," and that's one of the things that that I always remember. Well, what does the life as a musician mean? Well, I first started as a musician when I was just 15, because I went into the army, and this puts to rest some of the fallacies about how people end up doing exactly what they are passionate about. Because when I went into the army, I thought that I would just love to be a trumpet player, because I'd been watching, I'd been actually to see someone in pantomime with my mom and dad. They took me to a pantomime, and I saw Eddie Calvert, the man with the golden trumpet, and I thought, that's for me. I love that. So I actually like drums too, but the trumpet, that was my love. Well, I went into the army thinking, well, they've accepted me in there, they'll just let me play whatever I want to. But they didn't need a trumpet player, so they said, no, you can't play the trumpet. So I was put into a boys' school, an army boys' school in Edinburgh, and the other kids there, when I found out that I wasn't going to be able to play the trumpet, I just arrived, and word came down, no, he's not going to play the trumpet. They said, well, why don't you play the trombone? That's a great instrument. Now, what did I know about the trombone? I was a kid from Manchester who had started life off as a coal miner, and unfortunately never had to do the actual job, but that's what I was trained to do when I came out of the army. I had a quick job with clothing manufacturers, packing boxes, and then trying to learn sewing, and then I got the job of coal miner, and that was a great job in those days, you know, even for a kid. So I went down the coal mines. I did my training at the Robin Hood pit, and I was all ready to go. But by the time I'd finished my training, I was beginning to realise that this was not really a very good thing to do. And my father had been watching me, as I learned later, he'd been watching me arrive home covered in coal dust and trying to get myself clean, and he wrote away to a band, the band of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, which is a Scottish regiment, and they'd been advertising saying, we'll take young lads and train them to be a musician, no experience necessary, free training. Well, my dad knew that I was really mad on music, and actually I could whistle and hold a tune, and luckily so could he. He could whistle great, and he had a sweet tenor voice which he used to sing to me with. So I ended up going into the army, and I went in when I was about 15 and a half. When I was 16, I was in Berlin serving with the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, and I stayed there for a little while. Somebody corrected me on the fact that I said I was in East Berlin. Well, the British, as far as I remember, and it's a long time ago now, certainly more than 5 years, my recollection is that the British sector was surrounded by the Russians, and we had to go inside that part of the East Berlin, which we were allowed to do, and that's what we did. Well, I stayed a little while there. I had some lessons on tenor trombone from the principal trombone, I believe, of the Berliner Philharmonic, So I was already getting some good tuition. Then I got sent to Aberdeen, and in Aberdeen, in a boys' school there, I really began to learn something about music, and found I had a talent. Now, I didn't really choose the trombone. I didn't go in saying, "Oh my God!" every time I saw a trombone player. Oh, no, I didn't do that. Somebody said, "You should choose. You can't play trumpet." Well, they won't let you do that. Why don't you choose trombone? Just make sure it's the tenor trombone, not the bass trombone or the G trombone. So I said, well, okay. I was a real hard sell in those days. And I said to the bandmaster, who was in Berlin, I'll play, oh, okay, then I'll play the tenor trombone. And so they let me play the tenor trombone, and the rest is history. Oh, don't you love that old hackneyed phrase? So anyway, 8.5 years later, I came out of the army, and I went to be a pro musician in London. Now, if you're a pro musician, you go and you go and live in London. London is where there is so much work, or there was at that time. The difference in the UK as compared to, say, America is the UK has the Mecca industry, and Mecca has and I believe still has ballrooms all over the country. This is where you can go, and people go and they meet, and they dance there, and they meet people like that, you know, people in a face-to-face way. So but what I did was I went into first of all, when I first got out of the army, I went to Great Yarmouth on a summer. Now back then they did summer seasons where bands would be put together and booked and go and play just for the summer, for a season in a coastal resort, and that was where I went, Great Yarmouth. And after that I came back, and the first real job that I had was a 17-week season with Bertram Mills, and I played in the circus band, and we did. I didn't travel around. We played at the Olympia, which is no longer there. We played at the Olympia. I did all the same shows every time. I actually came very close to packing up the trombone and going away with the circus as a clown. A lot of people said that I would have been very fitting for that job. We won't go into that, okay? But anyway, that was something that I kind of came to my senses on, and didn't do that. Or was it coming to my senses? Who knows what I would have been doing now, what kind of a different life I would have had. But anyway, I got offered a job in a club in London, and then my life changed as for that. So I worked in the Eve Club, I worked in the Pigalle Club. Pigalle was the first nightclub job that I did. I worked in that. That's when I did my first singing gig, and then I moved from that and went to the Eve Club. Now, the surprising thing about being a professional musician then was that you could work in a little club and you could actually earn more money. As I found out, you could earn more money than a person with a degree. Now, my friend and mentor, who I'd met when I was still in the army, and he later moved to London, and we shared an apartment in London, and he was actually a research physicist at Aldermaston, which was the nuclear, the government nuclear establishment, research establishment, Aldermaston. At one time they used to have the London to Aldermaston March against the bomb, and my friend worked at that place, and then later he came and stayed in London, and in my first job I was earning more than a research nuclear physicist in Aldermaston. Can you believe that? I was like in my early 20s, 23 I think I was, and I was earning more than doing a simple playing every night musician, and I was earning more than a scientist. I only found that out when I went to try to get a day job. I thought, well, I'm going to want to earn a little bit more money, and I tried to get a day job, and one of the day jobs I looked for was Security Corps, and they are security guards, so they're security guards. And I went along there for the interview, and while I'm doing the interview, I'm looking at the uniform, and I'm thought, oh my God, why would I be looking at a job that has a damn uniform again? I'm not doing this. And I walked out on that and didn't do that. So I just kept on being a musician. The thing about being a musician is if you want to get somewhere, you need to be doing session work, and that's recording. And you need to be a pretty high standard to do that. So you need to work, and you need to practice very hard, and that's called advancing. To maintain means that you have to do so many hours a day, and then to actually advance means doing even more. So there are various very popular musicians who actually need something like 4 or 5 hours a day to maintain their very, very high level of skill. So that was it. The Eve Club was one of the toughest jobs, I was told, in town, because I had a very, very tough show. So I was quite proud to do that job, because it was a reading job, very difficult show, and that was a good one for me. Well, anyway, that's a little look at what I used to do as a musician. I should have stayed with the Bohol actually, because the band leader there really wanted me to sing. When I went to the Eve Club, I didn't get a chance to sing. For some reason, that just never materialized. I did sing, I think, two songs there, never happened again. So that's it from me, a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in. This is a little glimpse of my life as a musician.